you guys, welcome back to the channel. And if you have clicked on this video and you've seen the title, I'm sure you're well aware I am pregnant. And so this is my pregnancy announcement video along with the first trimester symptoms. And so before we get started on the video, there are two kind of disclaimers I need to give. The first one is that I am not a doctor, okay? I am going to talk about some medical stuff in this video, but it is not because I'm a doctor. It's not because I'm giving any medical advice. This is just me sharing my experience of what happened with my pregnancy so far and everything that I experienced inside of the first trimester. With that being said, my number two disclaimer is more of a trigger warning. So there will be talk about miscarriage and loss. And so if you are someone that is dealing with the loss of your child, whether through miscarriage, stillbirth, or any thing that is in that arena, that area, I first want to say I'm so sorry for your loss. And number two is that I'm going to leave a timestamp down below so that you're able to skip that part and of course not be triggered by it. But I do think that it's important to share that part of what almost happened to me, because I was caught completely off guard when it did, and it's part of why I kind of went missing for a while. Before we get into all of that craziness that occurred, let's start with the very beginning, with how I found out that I was pregnant, the symptoms that I've been experiencing, the very scary event that happened to me. Again, I will have that trigger warning and the timestamp down below so that you can skip it if you don't want to watch that. And then we'll talk about how I am proceeding into my second trimester, which will be a follow-up video I'll do for that one. So with that being said, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Make sure that you subscribed. If you're not subscribed, I would love to have you here. And leave me a comment down below with whatever your feedback is. I do answer each and every comment. And I will just ask that in this video, the comments are supportive of other moms that are reading this and encouraging. If I see anything that is not to that effect, I'm just going to be deleting it. Simple as that. The way that I found out I was pregnant was because we were having a salmon dinner and the salmon was fine. This was a recipe that I have made before, and so the salmon was okay. And the halfway through the meal of eating that salmon, it began to taste like rubber to me. And I remember eating the fish and I'm like, oh my God, is this fish bad? Is it not cooked through? What's going on with this fish? What's going on with the salmon? And then it started to taste more and more like rubber. And then I was like, what the heck is this? And then finally, the smell overcame me. So I don't know what happened. I stopped eating the fish. I said, I don't know, this is not really feeling that hot for me right now. And I had to actually come all the way upstairs to get away from the smell of the fish because it was making me nauseous. Just bam, out of nowhere. I was like, oh my God, this is disgusting. I have to go upstairs. I can't deal with this. So I went upstairs, and it was super weird because I was the one that cooked it. So it wasn't a problem up until I was halfway through eating the fish. And I remember that the next day was a Sunday and we were cleaning, and that was July 5th. So we were cleaning and I had ordered some pregnancy tests off of Amazon. And so I took the test, not expecting really anything. And I saw the 2 blue lines and they were positive. I took them upstairs to Cam and I was like, Cam, guess what? I'm pregnant. And he couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. We were both just like in shock, even though we really shouldn't have been, because like I said, talking about having the baby, but it's always shocking when you see when you see the 2 blue lines of the pregnancy test. And then I had to actually change my preconception visit into my first prenatal appointment, which I just thought was crazy that I had already scheduled a preconception visit and it was now turning into my first prenatal appointment. Exact date right here of how many weeks I was when I find out that I was pregnant. I had it confirmed by the sonogram and they confirmed it. They showed us the picture of the baby, and I'll put that right here so that you can see that there was a little baby there. And so we were really happy. We were like, okay, things are falling into place. This is what we've been waiting for and talking about and preparing for so long. And everything was great for a couple of weeks. So as far as symptoms, I was very lucky in that I did not have any morning sickness. I had 99% zero morning sickness. And I say 99% because there were 2 days where I really didn't take care of myself. I wasn't eating enough. I wasn't drinking enough water. Work was very, very hectic. And work just got the best of me to where I didn't take care of myself, and I felt it. Had a headache. I was nauseous because I hadn't eaten all day. And it felt like not really morning sickness, but it felt I was hungover, if that makes sense. Just not feeling well, just sick to my stomach, headache, dehydrated, not good. And so what I did use and I had on hand for whenever those feelings hit of nausea or morning sickness, even though I ended up not having any, was the C-band mama. Those C-bands are acupressure wristbands that you wear around your wrist, and those actually help me. So if you're looking for something that's not too medication-y, you can try that, and it did work for me. What I will say is just be aware that it's using acupressure, so they're very tight and they will leave an imprint on your skin. It's not painful, but it's a lot of pressure because it's using acupressure on an acupressure point to ward off the nausea. And so that was helpful for me. And the Preggy Pops. So the Preggy Drops or the Preggy Pops, those were also really good. I know that a lot of pregnant moms use them. I used them for the 1 or 2 days that I had nausea, and those were very, very well. They work very well. They also are delicious. So they're kind of sour. They're like sour candies, and they kind of like help reset all of the dry mouth and the disgusting feelings that you're getting at that point from when you're ready to barf. So definitely check those out. Definitely worth it if you are suffering with nausea or morning sickness. I did not experience was the extreme fatigue. So all of my symptoms were weird ones. I didn't get any of the tried and true or the traditional, most common, most occurring symptoms, if you will, for pregnancy throughout my first trimester. I didn't have any fatigue. I didn't have any extreme cravings for anything or any extreme hunger. Like I said, once I even forgot I was pregnant, I guess, and I just kept working at my job. And then I paid for it afterwards. Okay, so the following 2 symptoms are super weird, and I don't know why they don't get more recognition that this happens, and I don't know why more women don't talk about this. But what I'm finding in pregnancy is that a lot of women don't talk about a lot of things that happens in pregnancy. The first one that was weird to me was being out of breath so early on in the pregnancy. I was out of breath. Talking was so difficult. And I remember being at work and being on a conference call, and I just was like, top of that, something else that was super weird was something that is perhaps TMI, but I feel like this video is going to be just TMI all over the place. So TMI, TMI, TMI. Just know that there's going to be a lot of sharing in this video. Another one was the extra spit. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where it comes from, but I just felt like I was constantly swallowing my spit. And I'm just like, it's like if you're constantly thinking about salt and vinegar chips, or you're constantly thinking about pickles, like the sour things like that, and then your mouth starts watering. It's like that, but without that trigger of the salt and vinegar. It's just constantly producing saliva, producing saliva, producing saliva. And again, I didn't know that this was a thing that happened. If you didn't know, let me be the first to tell you that it happens, and it happens early on. And I read online, I don't know for sure if this is why, but I read online that it was because it happens in order to protect your teeth. So women that are throwing up often, that are dealing with a lot of acid reflux and a lot of issues with their digestive system, the acid corrodes your teeth. And so the production of extra saliva is believed to be to help prevent that corrosion of your teeth from the acid of your stomach and everything from you throwing up. Other than that, I didn't really have any crazy symptoms. I was very grateful I didn't have the morning sickness because I've heard it can be very bad. I also didn't have the crazy sense of smell that women get. I don't have that still. And I'm, into my second trimester at this point. Um, but I just didn't have them. I had all of the weird things. At this point in the story is where I am going to put in my trigger warning. I don't want to bring up any types of emotions for any mamas that are going through any type of loss or any type of feelings having to do with stillbirth, miscarriage, loss, blood. If you're pregnant and particularly anxious about, your own pregnancy, again, feel welcome to skip this. You're not, uh, you know, swimming in that ocean of emotions. So what happened was that I was deep cleaning the house, and I was deep cleaning and filming. So I was filming and deep cleaning, which is why I was deep cleaning. And I remember I went 4 hours straight of cleaning the whole house without a break. I think that not having the not having a lot of those pregnancy symptoms really messed with me to the point that I thought maybe everything was fine. I just was acting like I didn't need to take any extra care, any extra precautions. I didn't need to take any extra breaks. And so that all came to a head on that day. My back started to hurt. And I remember thinking, okay, yeah, I need to take a break because now my back is starting to hurt. And I was almost done anyway. It just happened that right as my back started to hurt, the only thing that was left for me to do was to steam and mop the floors. And I said, okay, I'm gonna drink water. I'm gonna take a break, and then I'm going to finish up later on. So I got the water. I set it down on the table next to the couch. I got myself ready to relax. And when I went to the bathroom, uh, I just remember seeing blood. When I tell you that it wasn't spotting, it was like opening a faucet and just red blood coming out. That's how it was for me. It was just a river of blood. And then I looked down, and not only was it blood, but uh, there was residue in it, if that makes sense. There was particles and things floating in there as well. So I said, I'm having a miscarriage. And I screamed up to him and I said, oh my God, Cam, I'm bleeding. And I basically crawled up the stairs because my back was in so much pain that I couldn't make it up the stairs. It was like so stiff, my lower back around my waist. I was just stiff as a board. It was so painful. And I called out to him. I said, I'm bleeding. I don't know what's happening. My back is hurting. I can't move. And so I called the doctor. I called my doctor's office. And of course, it was the weekend. They were closed. So I ended up getting transferred to the 24-hour nurse line. So I finally get a call back from the doctor about an hour later. And she tells me, you have all of the signs of a miscarriage. If you are still bleeding when you go to the bathroom, or if you're still bleeding when you check and you go to the bathroom, go to the hospital and see, if you still have a viable pregnancy. And so to say that Cam and I were scared and, you know, in shock of what was happening is an understatement. You don't expect, when you get pregnant, you don't expect anything to go wrong, let alone to be, dealing with extreme blood loss and, having to go to the hospital to make sure that the baby's still there. And so, of course, I was still bleeding and I was still in a lot of back pain. And so we drove to our local hospital that's about 10 minutes away, and we checked in. Let me preface all of this by saying that we're still in the middle of a pandemic. And so not only was I going through all of this, as a woman, but I'm going through all of this as a woman inside of a pandemic. And so we made it to the hospital. They had a checkpoint where they took your temperature and all of that because, again, of coronavirus. And we were directed into a separate waiting room from, I'm going to assume, is the COVID patients, or the patients that were presenting with breathing problems. They wheeled us in to the emergency room, and we're not even speaking. Cam and I aren't even speaking. We're just scared, and we're just trying to, not imagine the worst. But I'm a person that, for better or worse, I need to imagine the worst, and I do imagine the worst because I think that through thinking of the worst, you're able to better prepare, because you're prepared for anything. If you're prepared for the worst, you're prepared for anything. My mind was obviously in, I've just lost my baby. They're gonna tell me, there's no more heartbeat there. Waiting for someone to bring in a sonogram to check if there's still a heartbeat. And this hospital, we found out through a pelvic exam that this hospital did not have any stirrups on the bed, on any of their beds. They did not have a labor and delivery unit. And so the hospital itself really wasn't geared for, I don't want to say women. It's not geared for women. Of course, if you're having a medical emergency, and of course, if they need to deliver you, they will. But how can you have a hospital without stirrups? Not just it just didn't make sense to me. And so what ended up happening was that I needed to have my pelvic exam, my pelvis exam by the doctor that was on call. And they asked me to kind of like frog leg my legs because she couldn't put me in stirrups. There were no stirrups to put me into to get into a more ideal position. And that was extremely painful. That was very painful. I couldn't move my back, and so I couldn't really get into a good enough position. And then because there were no stirrups, I couldn't get at the right angle. And it was basically putting towels under my back to try to lift the pelvis up so that you could see if I was dilating, if everything, what was going on with the baby. And it was so painful and humiliating. I'm going to just say it was humiliating. Being in that position is not, I don't think, any woman's comfort level. And then to be in a position of fear and pain and sadness, right? Because I was already convinced that I had lost my baby. It was just even more degrading that had to happen that way. And even the doctor was like, I'm sorry, I know that this is painful, I'm very sorry. And Cam and I were left alone inside of the emergency room, and we're just thinking about how we were weeks away from announcing that we were going to have this baby. Now it might not even be a thing. And they asked me to give them a urine sample. And then when I went to get the urine sample again, I remember it was like a faucet of blood just leaking everywhere. And so I came back and I gave them the urine sample, and I said, it's a urine sample, but it's full of blood. I don't know, what's going on. I'm even more convinced now that, we've lost the baby. There's no more baby there. That was really frightening. That was really scary because no one tells you that you can bleed. And no one talks about it. So you're not ever aware that things like this can happen. And so I remember the sonogram tech, she came in and she wheeled in her sonogram machine, and I was just holding onto the rails of the bed. I was holding onto the rails of the bed, and I couldn't see Kim because he was behind me in the corner. And I was just gripping the rails, just saying, okay, just be ready for when they tell you that there's no heartbeat anymore. I remember thinking, just, be ready. Be ready for when you have to deal with whatever comes next, with, not having your baby anymore. She hooked everything up and she got me into position, and I'm just looking up at the ceiling, just waiting for the bomb to drop. And I'm like, this can't be normal. There's no way that, all this blood and all of the chunks I was seeing in the blood, that's not okay. It's not okay. Just get ready. Just get ready for when you hear her say that there's no heartbeat. And she came in, she set everything up, and she explained, that she was going to take pictures of everything that was going on, and that she was going to check for heartbeat, but that she wouldn't be allowed to talk about any of it with me until the doctor came in and talked about it with me. And, I understand why that would be practice at a hospital, that, the tech can't talk about those things with you until a doctor comes and confirms whatever it is that's on the sonogram. So I just kept thinking, okay, just prepare yourself. Just get ready. Just get ready. Just get ready to hear the news. And then she saw that obviously my blood pressure was crazy, and that we were just both so worried. And, God bless this lady, because she broke her own protocol, and she looked for the heartbeat first, of course. And when she saw the heartbeat, she said, I can't show you this, but I can tell you that there's a heartbeat right there. And that was just so not what I was expecting, that I started crying anyway, because I was just like, there's a heartbeat, the baby's still there. And she said, yes, the baby's still there, you're still pregnant, don't worry, the baby's still there, and the heartbeat is strong, the heartbeat is there, so don't be worried. And I said, oh my God, like, thank you for telling me. And then I hear Cam crying in the corner too. Once he hears the news, I hear him sniffling and crying, and we're just we were so prepared for the worst that we couldn't even imagine that it was gonna be something good coming out of it. And then when she saw me crying and really just not even able to catch my breath because I was crying, she showed me the heartbeat, and she showed Cam that the heartbeat was still there. And we were just so relieved that we couldn't not cry. We couldn't not cry because we were so relieved. Long story short, we ended up leaving the hospital that same night. They were never able to tell me why I was bleeding. They weren't able to tell me where that blood came from. They weren't able to tell me if something went wrong. They weren't able to tell me if it was, they just were never able to tell me what it was. It was unexplained bleeding. Because of that, I was put on pelvic rest for 24 weeks. If you don't know what pelvic rest is, it's different from bed rest. Pelvic rest is really just making sure that your pelvic muscles are relaxed. And so, which was fine, because after the scare that I had been through that night and just seeing everything go down the drain, literally, I just didn't care about whatever restrictions I was put on, as long as the baby was okay. What came from that day though was extreme anxiety with this pregnancy and fear. Like, that's the only way that I can put it. I think I'm a little bit traumatized, if I'm honest. I'm a little traumatized because, number one, I really didn't think that this would ever happen. And number two, it's not something that I hear anyone talk about. And number three, it was just something that kept replaying. So every time that I would go to use the bathroom, I was always checking for blood. I was always checking the paper, the toilet paper for blood. I'm always concerned, any ache, little pain. I am always fearful of the worst. And I know the worst did not happen, but just that day, those feelings just kind of stuck around and lingered. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but it was so traumatizing to me that throughout the pregnancy, even till now, I've just been concerned with losing the baby. That's all I can think about, is I don't want to lose the baby, and making sure that everything is okay with the baby. So in order to help me with those fears and with a lot of that anxiety, I ended up buying a heart monitor. And so I'll put a picture of it right here just because it's in the room and I don't really feel like getting up and getting it. So that heart monitor, I highly recommend that if you are going through any type of anxiety, if you're going through any type of issues, or even if you just feel that it's gonna be reassuring for you in pregnancy, you should get one. It's not necessarily cheap. I believe it was $64 when I bought it. I bought it through Overstock. And so it's not cheap, but for the peace of mind that it brings me just to hear the heartbeat, I think anyone and everyone should get it. Even now, when the baby is kicking for a few days and then I don't feel him kick on that next day, I grab that monitor and I just check, make sure that it's there, because I'm just so panicked. I'm panicked, and I'm, I just keep thinking of the word traumatized. I think I'm so traumatized from everything that happened on that day that we went to the hospital that I just need to hear the heartbeat and make sure that everything is okay if he's not kicking. We decided from that point on that the baby was a fighter and that the baby deserved to be known no matter what happened. And so we announced it to our family and we told them finally, yes, we are having a baby. We are going to be adding a new member to our family. And I did not tell a lot of people. Matter of fact, I didn't really tell anyone what happened that night and why we waited so long to announce to everyone that we were having a baby. Honestly, I would have waited until I was even further. I wanted to wait until I was 5 months along to tell people that I was pregnant, but I couldn't hide it from them. We all live really close, so they would have seen my belly. And so we just thought the baby deserved it. The baby deserved to be known. He was a fighter, and so we were gonna fight for him as well. That is the chilling recap of my first trimester. Overall, it's been fine. I don't want to say it's been okay or that it's been great. I really wanted to be able to come on here and have like a really cute pregnancy announcement and have a really cute pregnancy series, and that's just not gonna happen because that's not my journey. That's not how my journey has been. And I think it's important that every woman know that every pregnancy is unique. And that's, I think, why I'm finally getting ready to share that everything that happened with me is so that women know that you're not alone. If it happens to you, you're not alone. Everybody is different. Every pregnancy and everybody is different. And so this is my journey. It's complicated as hell and it's terrifying for reasons I didn't think were gonna be the reasons why it was terrifying, but the baby's here and that's what's important. I'm on the cusp of being 25 weeks, but at the time that I'm filming this, the time that you see this, I'll definitely be 25 weeks, if not further along. And everything is going okay with the baby so far, and okay with me as well. We're still very grateful, we're still very happy, and yeah, we're gonna start getting ready for the baby. And let me know any comments that you have regarding your own pregnancy. If you have a story similar to mine, I would love to hear it down in the comments below. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you stay tuned for our second trimester video, which is also kind of unexpected and yeah, a lot of unexpected things happening with this baby. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure you leave me a comment down below, make sure you like the video. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I want you to know that you are appreciated. Thanks again. Bye.